The fun part of the cycle is nearly here, and I have 100% proof of that. In this video, we are going to be talking about it. But first, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you become a subscriber to join us along the path. And with that in mind, let's actually address a few things. So just recently, we had capitulation happen in the market. We had Bitcoin crash down to like 65K. And ultimately speaking, I don't even think it's considered a crash. It's like a 10% pullback. And most of the market, in terms of altcoins, did get hit heavy. And it's because Bitcoin dominance is still around roughly like 50, almost 5%. Now, in the 24-hour span, some altcoins are bouncing back a bit. Uniswap is up almost 10%, which is pretty solid to see. But if we look at the top 500 in the last 7 days, again, not much gains happening here outside of just a few of them that are up like 10, 20%. Again, this is not alt season. I just want to stress that time and time again that this is not what alt season looks like. But I do believe that we are getting very, very close to that. I know that you guys are probably tired of me saying that because you've probably been like, Nick, you've been talking about this for months now and it feels like nothing's happening. And that's exactly what alt season feels like right before it officially starts. When it does, you'll know. And it is going to be a very, very exciting time, and we're going to be talking about that. So let's first start off with Bitcoin, because we did have a capitulation event on Bitcoin. Like I said, we had a nice little move all the way up to like 70K during the FOMC meeting, and then a massive sell-off down to like $65,000. Now, one thing that I did say this week was prepare for volatility. Volatility did hit the market in a very large way, and now as we really look at Bitcoin, well, this is what the overall price action looks like on Bitcoin right now on the 4-hour span. So one, we have held the 65.5K level, which I told you guys about previously and why it is a very important level to look at. Once we lost 67.3K and we could not regain it, we knew that this was the next level. And I did warn you guys about that. You could go back and watch the previous videos. I told you that that is a level of major interest if we lost this 67.3K level, and we did lose it. Now, I want to go over here. So this is the Bitcoin chart, right? 4-hour chart. Do you notice something interesting on this chart? Well, number one, we have the breakdown here, right? Just grinding this downtrend. And during this time, we also have RSI going in an uptrend. If you want to dominate this cycle and absolutely crush it with profits, you need to go and check out the new course that I just dropped. And the best part is that it's completely free. That's right, it's completely free. There's going to be a link down in the description below. Go and get this course right now before the market goes absolutely parabolic. This is bullish divergence, and it is telling us that volume is actually not showing us that we should be going down. In fact, it's showing us that we should be going up. So we are waiting for the big move to officially happen on Bitcoin to break above 66.5K, which is the key target to actually break above right now. Also, if we look at MFI, so money flow index, we could see that this is ranging right around a bottom point. This is the last 3 times that we've hit this level. If we go back, the first one was the 9th. The second one was the 11th. And now we have our third tap here. Now this, when we're down in these areas down here in terms of like the lows, typically we start to see a big move to the upside. In fact, we could see that in the beginning of June when we ran all the way up to about roughly like $72,000. The problem here is that although the price was going up, we could see that the RSI already started to print a bearish divergence back in the beginning of June. So we knew that we were going to get a sell-off regardless. But now, as we look at Bitcoin, I am expecting us to chop a bit here. It's not going to be, hey, let's break out and let's go crazy. No, it's the weekend, so we'll probably chop a little bit. We'll probably chop into the beginning of this week. And if we look here, right, we have a little bit of, just chop between this uptrend that is possibly forming. We don't know if this is going to form. I'm just saying, like, this is what I would like to see, is just kind of us like maintain this uptrend. It could even stretch out a little bit like this. Again, we don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I would ultimately like for us to maintain above 65.5K and for our bottom to be in. It's not dead set if that's the case yet, but I would like for us to maintain above 65.5K and for us to really kind of just front run those lower targets around like 60 to 63K that everyone has been, calling for. Now, my original thought process on alt season, what have I been saying? Middle of the month into the beginning of July. Over here, I said there is so much money to be made still this cycle. Within the next 2 months, you will see the entire space wake up significantly. And I still believe that, right? I said this at the end of May. I'm expecting the middle of June, beginning of July, when we start to see the real fireworks. The honest truth is that no matter how ready you may think you aren't. What's about to happen is going to mess with your emotions significantly. You need to block them out now. The only goal you should have is make sure that you don't lose money, take profits, and ensure that you are getting paid for your time in this market. Let's win together this cycle. Now over here we have alt season starts mid-June, beginning of July. This is my prediction, and I personally see the market really heating up this summer. I'm still expecting to de-risk towards the end of this year, as I'm anticipating a top in Q4 of this year or Q1 of 2025 the latest. The next bear market won't be the same as previous ones with upcoming regulations, so I wouldn't want to be left bag holding this cycle. Have a percentage you allocate to specific holdings for moon bags depending on entries, but I'd definitely be cautious holding onto bags. And last but not least, this is actually just from today. I said time frame wise, we might push this a bit more into the end of June, middle of July. The move on Bitcoin yesterday will probably make us chop a bit until we attempt a break over 74K. And yes, cracking over 74K is crucial, right? This goes all the way back to, the middle of March. $73,800 is pretty much the level that we wick to. We want to see a break over 74K, with considerable amounts of liquidations, because there's a lot of people shorting Bitcoin around that level. And that's where a lot of liquidations will happen. I think it's like well over like $5 billion plus. It could ultimately, when we talk about liquidations, they could snowball into much larger liquidations. And if we're thinking about that, that's fuel for Bitcoin to go even higher. And that will push us to anywhere between like 80 to 90K in a very short amount of time, with 100K being the next major target. And that's why I say like 80 to 100K could happen pretty quick before the end of the summer. Now, talking about this, I also said ultimately I see downside limited here, and I'm still expecting to see a major move by the end of the summer. Bitcoin should see 80 to 100K, and altcoins should begin their ascension to the upside. Let's see what happens next week. The path should be clear by then, and it should, right? We're going to be obviously addressing it when that time comes. But one of the biggest things that we have been focused on, because alt season definitely is brewing, and I do think that this is 100% proof of that, is Ethereum. Ethereum ETFs are the big talks now, right? June 13th, we just got this 2 days ago. Ethereum ETFs should be fully approved by September, says SEC Chair Gensler. But what did we just get today? Well, spot Ethereum ETFs may begin trading by July 2nd. This is from a Bloomberg analyst. And remember, this was also the prediction around Bitcoin. It was a little bit earlier. It was preemptive, actually. I mean, we were expecting Bitcoin ETFs by, I think, around like the middle of this year. We got them in January. And I do think that this is also, like, if we're talking about September, I don't think that we have until September. I think that this is going to get approved sooner. Could be July 2nd. We don't know. But this would align perfectly with what I was talking about alt season starting around the middle of this month the end of this month now, because I pushed it a little bit because of what Bitcoin did. But even then, right, like we're still talking about the beginning of July, middle of July. That's like the sweet spot. I'm telling you guys, it really is. And I think that that's why, as we really look at what's happening around these Ethereum ETFs, we need to prepare for that. Because what could an Ethereum ETF do? Well, if we go back to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's ETF approval happened on January 10th. And on the 3-day chart, we could see that we did drop by 21.5%. Okay. Now, we already have a pullback. we already got the pullback. In fact, if we look at this pullback, you know, this was almost 10% pullback on Bitcoin. And from there, Bitcoin surged 91%. If we're just going off the bottom of the January 10th candle, we're talking about 78% to the upside. If we get an Ethereum ETF, I do think that it's going to cause Ethereum to absolutely go parabolic. And what's crazy about that is if we just repeat what Bitcoin did, 78% will take us to it's like $6,000. 91.5% will take us to $6,500. We're just talking about repeating Bitcoin. If we go back to January 10th, now I am on the 3-day chart as well. Let's go to January 10th. All right, here's January 10th. Off of the sell-off, Ethereum already outperformed Bitcoin by going up 89% off of those lows. If we're going off of the January lows, we're talking about 101%. Again, the January lows for Bitcoin was down here, 91.4%. Ethereum did outperform it by roughly almost like, it's like 8.5%. So nothing too crazy there, but it's still an outperformance. So do I think that Ethereum, if we did get an Ethereum ETF approval, do I think that it will pretty much have the same movement, if not more? 100%. And I think that that's what will cause altcoins to go absolutely crazy. Now, I also charted Ethereum in the Discord. I think it's a few weeks ago now. I think, it was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was like during the beginning of June when we were chopping against resistance here. I said, this is what I'm expecting. And, you know, we didn't go as deep, but we did get into my demand zone, which was around 32 to 3,400. Pretty much a perfect retest of that demand zone. We got that liquidation event on Ethereum and on most of the market. And this was pretty much a lick hunt. So we hunted liquidity, we grabbed it, and now we could technically send higher. And I do think that we're gonna chop a little bit here, but for the most part, we should get a breakout above those March highs back there. And ultimately, you know, I'm looking at this right now on the 3-day. If we look at the weekly, I believe the weekly, resistance is at around 3,800, almost 3,900. Once we break over that, it's smooth sailing to, you know, 48.68, which is the previous all-time high for Ethereum, where I do think that we'll have a little bit of some trouble. We might reject, have some chop, but for the most part, I do expect Ethereum to go into price discovery and lead the way for altcoins. And again, remember what the spot ETFs do for Ethereum. It starts the narrative. It starts that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, and we hear talks of the flippening phase, which would be phase 2 of Altseason. And then after that, we look at large caps, and then we look at Altseason itself. I know that it gets tiresome hearing about Altseason's coming, but it actually is, right? Like, we can see the signs out there now. They're very clear, and we are getting very close to this. Once we are in phase 2, we have about 3 to 6 months. And I've stressed this on multiple occasions, about roughly 3 to 6 months, which is why I say like Q1 of 2025, the latest is when I think that we top, depending on when this actually officially begins. Bitcoin dominance on the 12-hour looks pretty weak, started to sell off. Again, crucial sign that this was going to sell off. Go back to May 15th, the middle of May 15th. We had a top there. Look at RSI, oversold. Same exact level at which RSI just topped on June 10th. Guess what? Boom, we start selling off. It seems as though this level at around 56% is acting as major resistance, and I'm hoping to see us lose this major structure, and ultimately we might chop a little bit here. We might have a little bit of a move to the upside while Bitcoin decides what it wants to do. But I'm hoping for the structure to actually be lost on Bitcoin dominance, which will lead the way for altcoins to go crazier. In fact, this will actually support the idea of Ethereum starting its phase 2 of Altseason, which is Ethereum going crazy, and it would even support Ethereum ETFs. I do think that during that time, Ethereum, Bitcoin will go crazy. There's 2 scenarios on this chart, which is we pump to the upside, we reject off of that uptrend, that upper trend line one more time, we come back down, retest this, and then we break out, or we just break out of it. I do think that this path, when we break out, back test the upper trend line, and then go crazier, that will support the idea of the ETFs getting approved by the beginning of July. It will also pretty much confirm that phase 2 of Altseason is officially beginning. And then we really kind of look at, others' dominance, right? This thing has been riding this uptrend for a while. Back in September, we did lose it a little bit. We ranged sideways and then we regained momentum above it. And once we did, we kind of held this for a little bit of time now. We already retested it back in January. We retested it back in November as well and held this. Now I'm watching to see if we are going to retest it once again, chop a little bit, and then we get that big move to the upside. Again, all of this is mirroring what we have been discussing about Altseason, but it's also supporting the idea of the Ethereum ETFs. Phase 2 of Altseason officially beginning, and also Ethereum breaking out against Bitcoin. Are we too early to say this? Are we too early to call this? We might be, but I do think that it's almost time to watch altcoins go crazy against Bitcoin and Ethereum to gain momentum. And I do think that this recent move was major capitulation in this market to shake the market. We started to see a lot of people calling for like 60K on Bitcoin and, you know, some pretty crazy predictions. So again, you can clearly see the market feeding into the fear and pretty much allowing people to shake themselves out all through emotions. And even right now, fear and greed index about neutral, very good signs of what's to come. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about that pullback. I'm glad that we got it out of the way pretty quick because, again, we were expecting it to happen and we finally got it. So very good signs of what's to come. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, though. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.